Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
It's a Vault exclusive, obviously. And every time I shoot one of my Friday complaint videos, I always think, boy, I'm going to have a hard time coming up with stuff to complain about next time. And then, of course, Wednesday rolls by and I've got enough stuff to shoot a video. So I'm shooting my Friday complaint video early because I got so much stuff to complain about. But again, some people love these, some people hate these. If you don't like them, turn away now. Don't look. But one of the most common things I get is people send me emails and comments in the videos, but it's often the emails that people complain and say, I missed something. I missed something. And I get these almost every day. And they'll say, Steve, you missed something. And the interesting thing is that my videos are between 10 and 15 minutes long lately. And if I put in too much stuff that's tangential, people go, hey, you keep going off topic. Why don't you stick to the topic? So I can't win. If I cover everything, it's a 3-hour video and people won't watch it. And if I leave some stuff out, people go, I can't believe you missed this. So one of the weirder parts, though, and what I'm really complaining about here is when people say you missed something and then they list something that I covered in the video. And I had a guy write to me and go, Steve, I am actually in the industry of dive boats and scuba diving and so on. And I did the story about how the captain of that boat where the fire was that killed all those people had been the first one off the boat. Fire breaks out and he jumps overboard. And I mentioned that and I said, but the charges against him were dismissed because of technicality. And he said, well, Steve, I'm an expert on this and you missed the fact, for instance, that there was no watch posted. Well, I actually mentioned that specifically in the video. And so the number of people who are driven to comment before the video ends is always shocking to me. And on a related note is some people will start watching a video, and I guess sometimes they actually just read the title and don't even watch the video at all, and then write me a note, email, or a comment. And I had one that was actually quite funny. I did the story about how a woman took a car for a test drive, and on the test drive, the engine blew up. And dealership said, you got to pay for that. And the headline said something about engine blows up during test drive, dealer wants customer to pay for it. And I had a guy who actually responded and said, Steve, if they're test driving your vehicle, I'd make them pay for it. But that's not what was happening. She was test driving their vehicle. They were not test driving her vehicle. And anybody who watched the video for more than 30 seconds would have known that. And so the fact that somebody sent me an email and said, it's obvious here, if they're test driving your vehicle and they blow the engine up, that's on them. It's not what happened. And you would know that if you watched the video for even just a minute. Now, what's interesting is I had someone else also respond where they misunderstood that and said, by the way, Steve, when I sell my cars, because I don't let people test drive them. I go, so wait, how often do you actually manage to sell a car where you don't let the person test drive it? And he goes, I've done it. So apparently he's done it one time, so there you go. Another complaint I get, I've gotten this more than once, but it was very specifically written the other day, where a guy responded to my video about the 8-foot rule being abolished in Arizona because the legislature had passed a law saying if you wanted to record a police officer while the police officer is doing his job, you had to stand at least 8 feet away from him or her. And I addressed all the varieties of things that go into that. And I read one article as part of my video. But I read probably a dozen articles, maybe more than that, on this. I studied up quite a bit on that one. But what I often do is I'll read several articles. I look for the best one that I think encapsulates the story. And then I will read portions of the article, and then I will comment. And a lot of my comments are inspired by things I read in other articles. And a guy wrote me this email, and he said, Steve, the article you got your information from didn't include the following facts, which you apparently don't know. And he listed a bunch of things, including some things that I actually mentioned in the video. Again, he turned it off before I'd gotten to the end of the video. But number 2, I never said, I'm doing a video and I've only read one article. I never said that. But he goes, the article you got your information from missed something. And then what he cited was something that I didn't consider to be relevant. That's why I didn't mention it. I knew what he was talking about. I just didn't care. By the way, I get almost daily an email from somebody who starts by saying, Steve, I normally like your videos. Normally, I like your videos. I will let you know right now, and by the way, people will do this as a joke, and I'm letting you know I'm not joking about this. If you send me an email that starts with, Steve, I normally like your videos, I will stop reading and block your email, so go straight in my garbage. So I won't read the email, and I will not see any future emails from you again except in my garbage, my spam folder, my trash folder, okay? But I get those all the time. I normally like your videos, and I was just inspired to mention it because I got one 10 minutes ago. I also had a guy who wrote me, I'm guessing, like a 5,000-word dissertation on the 8-foot rule in Arizona. And he said, Steve, I'm in law enforcement, and you are so off base on this. And he starts just verbal diarrhea, just dumping words on the page. I'm not even sure if there are sentences or not. I stopped reading about 3 sentences in. But he said, you need to rethink your position on the 8-foot rule. And he said, by the way, because you are so anti-cop, it's painfully obvious. I had several people tell me that I was so pro-cop, it was painfully obvious in that article. Take your pick. Which am I? Am I pro-cop or am I anti-cop? By the way, I had also someone who sent me an email in response to that very same video and said, Steve, you were waffling. You were waffling because you gave both sides of the argument. In court, when I'm representing somebody and I'm in court, I will argue my side, our side of the argument. I will argue that until I'm blue in the face, as long as the judge lets me, till the cows come home. When I'm doing a video trying to explain the law, I will give both sides. If I don't give both sides, someone's going to chime in and go, Steve, you missed the obvious answer to that. And if I give both sides, I get some idiot going, Steve, you were waffling. You were waffling. So no, I wasn't waffling. I was giving both sides. And here's the thing. This guy sends me a 10,000-word email where he says, I'm former law enforcement, and you need to rethink your position on the 8-foot rule because you missed a whole bunch of stuff. Then he regurgitates virtually every word he knows, and he dumps it all into a text or an email, which, by the way, if I started reading it and had decided to read it all the way through, I'd still be reading it. I haven't got that kind of time. So I literally just skipped over the entire text and got to the end to see if it had a call to action. What did he want me to do? He says, number one, you need to rethink your position on the 8-foot rule. Number two, you need to make a video addressing my arguments point by point, each and every one of them. Now, here's the thing. There were no bullet points. There were no numbers. It was literally just a block, or as I like to jokingly call it, a wall of text. It was like you took one of my OEDs, fed it through a blender, and dumped it on a table and said, there, respond to that. But he actually said, you need to make a video addressing my arguments point by point. He goes, and put that video up and take down your other video. So I actually wrote him back 3 words. I wrote, are you serious? ? Because I thought this might be a joke. Somebody may have just cut and pasted a bunch of gibberish just to see if they could get my attention. I don't know. And he wrote back and he said, what about my email did you find incredulous? What about my email did you find incredulous? I'm not sure that I can find your email incredulous. I don't think that's how the word incredulous works. Now, I can find your email idiotic. I can find it nonsensical. I can find it to be gibberish. I don't think I can find it to be incredulous. Now, it was ridiculous, and I'm not going to respond to it point by point, nor am I going to make a video in response to it and, in essence, apologize for my previous video, which, by the way, was fairly balanced. I gave both sides of that argument. And, again, I understand. If I put up a video and it gets 100,000 views, it might get 1,000 comments, and it might generate 5 emails. So the 5 emailers come out of a pool of 100,000 people who've watched the video. It's a very, very small percentage. So even I understand how pointless this is. Even I understand how pointless Even I understand how pointless this is. I'm not fixing that. I'm not apologizing for my inability to say that properly 30 seconds ago. People often ask, Steve, what happened? There's a an edit there. What disappeared? I left one in for you. There you go. Even I understand how pointless that would be. See, now I can do it. I'm like Captain Kirk. Even I understand how pointless that could be. Spock! So I wrote to the man, are you serious? And he responded with, what about my email did you find incredulous? I just blocked his email. So I don't know if you wrote back or not. I don't really care. And then finally, time flies when you're complaining. Finally, I did the video today about the iPhone cord situation in Brazil. The country of Brazil said that Apple selling iPhones without the cords with which to charge them was a misleading situation for consumers. And they said you have to sell the phone with the charger or not at all. And by the way, we're going to fine you for having done so. And I pointed out a variety of issues that raises. And I thought, again, I gave both sides to that. Of course, I was waffling, according to one person. But I got an email from a guy who goes, Steve, I was amused. That's the word. I wrote it down. I'm not making this stuff up, people. He said, I was amused. You didn't mention the EU. I was amused you didn't mention it. Now, in case you don't know, the European Union got together, that's what a union does, and they decided that in the marketplace for cell phones, they wanted all cell phones to have standardized chargers. So the thinking is that if you change cell phones, you can still use an old charger, that kind of thing. And of course, Apple being Apple, has their own kind of charger and wanted to keep using their own chargers. And the EU said, no, you got to use the same charger like everyone else. We're trying to standardize this. And some things have been standardized over the years in various industries. And the EU decided they wanted to standardize that. And so this guy who emailed me said, Steve, I was amused you didn't mention the EU. Standardization of the charging device is not the same as being fined for failing to provide one. Now, I realize they both address charging devices, but I'm not going to bring up another story from the other side of the world on a different point just because it involves the same piece of equipment. But the man said, I was amused you didn't mention it. Now, you might say, Steve, maybe he found, amusing, that's a good thing for him. He likes to be amused. Well, then he said, then the first 50 comments didn't mention it either. So not only did I miss it, but the first 50 people to respond also missed it. What's with all you people trying to amuse this guy? They might say, Steve, again, maybe he meant that in a good way. You're amusing him. That's a good thing, isn't it? Well, then he wrote, I usually like your videos, but not this one. So he went out of his way to write me an email and say that you missed a big point and everyone else missed it too. And as a result, I didn't like your video. To which I responded, feel free to stop watching. And how much you want to bet, I'm going to shut this camera off in a second, put it in my computer, and while it's downloading, I'm going to get an email. Somebody going, were you offended by that? All I said was that was amusing that you missed it and everyone else missed it. And I said I didn't like the video. I'm allowed to have opinions. Yeah, you are. And I'm allowed to not read your emails too. So there you go. Those are the complaints from this week. I'm guessing it's September 15th or 16th-ish, right around about now. Not sure what day I'll run the video, but it might be Friday. So there you go. Questions or comments? I hope some of this sinks in. But whatever you do, don't start an email with the phrase, I normally like your videos, because I'm not kidding. I will not read past that, and I'll dump it straight in the garbage. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk later. Bye-bye.